Hola bandidos, ¿cómo estamos? Welcome to Mel's Magic. I'm Magic Mel, and this is Owl, my spirit guide. Welcome to episode 7 of season 5. And I'm going with the flow again today. I'm just letting it flow, and I'm bringing up something I'm working through right now. It's been a crazy, tumultuous week. A tower, in the tarot, a so-called tower has fallen. If you know the tower a little bit, when a tower falls, it means there was a faulty foundation. It's like, how we build house of cards on false assumptions or a state of powerlessness. Eventually that comes crumbling down. Why? Because the universe wants us powerful. And the universe always creates circumstances, by the universe I mean ourselves, actually, essentially. We create circumstances that show us the faulty foundation, if there is any. So that has been my case this week, where it had to do with boundaries, the important word to protect the sense of selfhood is boundaries, energetic boundaries. Where do I start and where do I end? Very important questions. And where does somebody else start and somebody else ends? Because that boundary demarcates the responsibility, where my responsibility ends and where someone else's begins. And if you're somebody like me who comes from a background of childhood enmeshment where I wasn't modeled healthy boundary setting, then you can empathize with this with this topic, no? I want to start by saying that I'm actually super proud of myself. I'm proud in this moment to realize how far I've come on this journey of finding my strength, of connecting with my anger, of accepting that anger. So first of all, it's detecting the anger, and then it's allowing it to be there. Because in the past, I used to reject and suppress my anger. It made me very sick. I had chronic depression throughout my life. I was suppressing my emotions into the pit of my stomach. No wonder I always had digestive issues. Because the pain and the emotions, they don't go anywhere. We can't sweep stuff under the carpet anymore. If you look out into the world and all the chaos that's happening, I don't need to watch the news to know what's going on. We can see our own manifestations. We can see how things are being brought to the surface in the broadest way of speaking, to look at them and to see that this is not working anymore. How can we do things differently? And it starts with ourselves. I keep on reiterating that. We need to do the individual inner work if we want a different reality. And connecting to our emotions and accepting them, holding space to understand them, is essential. Because our emotions are our guidance system. They make us feel through our body where we're at, what kind of state of being we are embodying, literally. We are human beings, remember? What does that even mean? I don't want to go too far into that, but a human being, it means that we are capable of embodying different states of being. And if you look at the emotional scale, if you haven't, I highly encourage you do look at the emotional scale. You can see that emotions hold different vibrations, different frequencies, from very low and slow and dense, like shame and powerlessness and guilt and fear. Then comes anger, and anger is usually a cover emotion. And a cover emotion is there to protect us from the lower vibrations. So if your anger is there, it means it's there to protect you. It's like a warning signal that goes off, like, hey guys, listen up. Something is not working here. Somebody is trespassing your boundary. But we're not really encouraged to feel anger because, I've lived it. I was scared. When I got out of the first step out of my depression was to feel my anger. And I was so shocked. I'm like, I'm angry? I had to really consciously understand that first, because I was so unfamiliar with the emotion of anger because I had been suppressing that all my life. Why? Because as a child, it felt unsafe to feel anger, because it basically meant I couldn't really be myself because I was in survival mode. And as kids, we depend on our caregivers. And we need to function in a way that assures our survival. And if it means betraying our own needs, then so be it as a child, because we don't have an option as a child. So we betray our own true feelings. Let's say you're angry. Let's say as a child, you're angry because your dad left you alone in a hotel when he took you on a vacation, and you were like so happy, like, hey, I'm gonna spend vacation with dad, and then he left you alone in a hotel room to be with a girlfriend that you were as a child were really jealous about, and he left you alone in the hotel room. Maybe you really felt anger at that point, but there was nobody there to hold or to see or to help you regulate that anger. So you suppressed that anger, feeling like, oh, I cannot feel this emotion because it's not safe. It means I won't be accepted, I won't be loved. And we, not only as children, depend on love. I mean, we need love. We are love. Deep down, we are beings of love. You can, they say, if you see this, what is it called? Matislav, that pyramid of needs, where actualization is at the top and then you have these primary needs. And I need to check on that. Okay, so don't quote me on this, but as far as I remember, at the bottom there's like, food, the really base root chakra kind of survival things like food, shelter, and then comes emotion and so on. I don't think so. And you know that if you've been heartbroken, have you been heartbroken in your life? How does it feel? Didn't you God, I remember when I was heartbroken, I couldn't eat for like a week. I was like in a way happy because oh, I'm losing weight. I was still in that paradigm of, being so concerned about my exterior. I couldn't eat because I was so emotionally distressed. So I was emotionally distressed because of this perceived lack of love. So love is so essential for us, not only as children, as adults, as beings, as human beings. We are made of love. Our essence is love, and we're going home to love. The creator is pure love. Yeah? So back to the emotional scale. If you look at the scale, you have the very dense, deep, slow, vibrational emotions down there. You have anger, then you have boredom, acceptance, and slowly we creep up to joy, freedom, and bliss. The ultimate bliss is like super high frequency. So we are, as human beings, capable of embodying all of these emotions. How crazy is that? If you really think about that, we're like walking modules of different emotional states. And to learn about emotions is so important. That was also vital to my recovery from suicidal depression, to understand what these emotions even mean. I was so illiterate. I was highly accomplished academically, but I had zero literacy in terms of emotions. And it's fine. I also had to accept it about myself. Let's learn these emotions. That means sitting with it, accepting it, allowing it to be there, not repressing it, because repressing our emotions makes us sick. They don't go anywhere. They stagnate in the body, they accumulate, they cause illnesses. Not to punish us, but to cry out for our attention. Like, hello, body is like, hello, you need to look at this. And often it needs a serious breakdown or something, a huge tragedy to arrive in our lives for the so-called house of cards to crumble, and for us to really look at what kind of foundation we had been building. Maybe we put the ladder to success lent against the wrong wall, the wall being our image of success. So the ladder had to crash for us to fall down looking like, oh shit, it was the wrong wall anyway. So I'm proud of myself because I've come from being completely disconnected from my emotions and being chronically ill in my life, mentally and physically, to this space now, this moment in time, right here, right now, where I'm not only connected to my anger, if it appears, I allow it to be there, I listen to it, and then I express it. Because another thing is, I guess we're scared of our own anger because we're scared of what it will do. Anger has such a bad rep. Maybe as women, we were like, there's a stigma of being labeled hysteric if we voice our anger. So we wouldn't want it to get that stage. We don't want to go to the other extreme of being like, rah, like a raging dragon, like with a fire hose, burning everything down. I mean, let's avoid that. Literally, when I first came in touch with my anger, it was a rush of power because it's an energy, that comes up. I literally had to set up a punching ring I put pillowcases against my tree out there to release that anger. And I signed up for martial arts to physically channel the anger, because it needs to be physically released also. It's crazy. So that was first like, there was like a volcano of anger coming out of me. When I first accepted and connected to that anger, was like explosive. And too right, it was explosive because after years and decades of suppressing that thing, imagine having like a champagne bottle and you just go shaky, shaky, shaky for like 3 decades. Hello, the bottle is gonna pop. I mean, the cork is gonna go flying, no? What do you expect? So my anger was explosive, and I was like, okay, I need to, so I'm a little bit unpredictable. I was unpredictable at that stage. I had to just, make sure I release that anger in a healthy and non-destructive way. So we don't want to suppress our anger to actually get to that stage. It's no good. Otherwise, Kali comes out. The Hindu goddess Kali, and she is one of my guardians. Kali, the slayer of worlds, the slayer of the ego. If there's too much ego in the world, she comes and she did to me. I was metaphorically decapitated because I was too much in my ego. My ego had to die to be reborn. Happens to a lot of us, no? So we don't want to get our anger out of hand. Meaning we need to listen to it when it first arises and not to the very last moment once we've suppressed it so much. No. So I'm in a place now where I'm connected to my anger, where I hear and listen to my anger, and where I can then communicate my anger. And I'm refining that process because communication is so essential also. Am I coming from a place of respect for myself first and foremost, and for the other person? It's an art. I'm a visual artist. I like to learn the different arts. So I'm discovering this art, and I'm trying to master that art of communication. But I'm at a place where I can voice my boundaries and my limits, which I was never able to do in the past. And I have so much compassion for the past version of myself who was not able to do that, and who suffered because of that, because I allowed other people to trespass my boundaries. Note, I allowed other people to trespass my boundaries. So essentially it was me betraying myself. And this is never about finger pointing, because remember, we are the creators of our reality. Everything we experience is our own creation. We have to accept that truth to be able to empower ourselves. Yeah. So I was not conscious enough to realize that I was betraying myself. And why are boundaries so important? Because the self is important. If I don't know where I end, we are just a conglomeration of energies. But we're born into separated individual vessels here, because the universe wants to experience itself through different perspectives. And each one of us here has a different perspective, because we're born into a different life situation with different karmic patterns, with different experiences and natural tendencies. So we are individuals. What does individual even mean? It means individuus, from Latin. No puedes separar, you cannot separate. Indivisible, inseparable, so it's one, no? So the boundaries are there to know who am I? Up to where am I? Where's my limit? Where's the limit of myself? And where do other people come into play? And then we can start a whole interaction of energies and collaborations. But if I don't know where I end, Now we're entering into the treacherous terrain of codependency. Because if I don't know who I am, if I only know who I am through you, like I used to be as a child, I was highly attuned. I was highly sensitive and attuned to my caregiver, to the moods and needs. I didn't even know what my own needs were, meaning there is no sense of self. I had no sense of self. I had to discover that, dig it out, and nourish that. Like this little seed of self in me, unfolding now, blooming and blossoming now. Why? Because I understand my emotions and I respect my emotions and I respect my boundaries and express them to other people so I can see myself clearly and other people can see me clearly. Because if we're codependent and come with a fragile sense of self, and this is not coming from a place of judgment, but if we're coming from a codependent space, we don't really see people clearly. It's like operating with dirty windows. It's like everyone is, we can't see each other clearly because I don't even know the truth of who you are. And the truth of who I am is deeply connected with my emotions and my alignment, my connection to my truth, my emotional truth, my voice, my thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and actions are, if they're in alignment, that is my truth. That is the clearest way of expressing myself, like I'm trying to do here. I'm bringing voice to what I'm deeply feeling here. I'm sharing my truth. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I was not connected to myself. So yes, boundaries are important. Absolutely. We create all kinds of diseases and malfunctionings within the body. The body doesn't, if we don't have boundaries, even the body cannot tell who is an enemy and who is, not enemy, dangerous, but who is maybe an invader and where do I begin? And then the body starts eating itself because, if we then don't have a sense of selfhood, of healthy self, we start giving power to outer voices in ourself, in our psyche that are often not benevolent. You know the term of the critic, the judge, who's always, beating down on us. Our healthy sense of self shrivels and our self-esteem shrivels. We're like a wilting plant. I want to call it sacred anger because the anger is there to protect me, to protect my boundaries, to state my boundaries, to help allow myself to come out. So I thanked my anger. And it's difficult sometimes, I know. I used to be so conflict averse because, if you don't have a true anchoring in yourself, you're so fragile. You're easily invaded, easily persuaded, easily shaken. But you have a strong core. And like I tell myself nowadays, nothing is worth me coming out of alignment. Nothing is more important than my standing up for myself. And it's scary. It still scares me. But I will not become ill again for the sake of pleasing somebody else. No. And if we're all pleasing each other and we all like manipulating each other in codependency, who are we? Weak, disempowered, fragile beings, and that's not who we are. Life is a beautiful journey to discover the strength, the beauty of our being. I said it yesterday, the biggest lie out there is the thought form. It's only a thought form, which then leads maybe to a belief if it's repeated. The belief that we're powerless. We are not powerless. We're only powerless if we choose to stay disempowered. We're not meant to be powerless and weak. And by power, I do not mean violence or oppression, because that is not true power. That comes from fear. I mean true power as in the acceptance and the loving of yourself. And to have the strength and the courage to communicate and to show the light of who you are, to bring that light into the world, that is power. Because you need to be strong in yourself to do that. You need to be so strong of your own inner conviction of your truth, of what you're feeling, of your value, that you go out there and you speak your truth malgré tout, a pesar de, regardless of the outer response, because that is beyond my control. All I can control is how I show up. And that's scary. It takes an act of kind of surrender. I had this situation this week where, unconsciously I learned so much out of it. It was a situation where my lesson was to, set your boundary and be clear and transparent from the beginning, so things don't get entangled and then lead to miscommunication and false expectations. It's my big lesson. But yeah, I spoke my truth, and the risk was not to be understood, and that you have to be okay with that. You have to be so strong in your truth that you are not swayed by the response, and you're not dependent on whether you're being understood or not. That is not the point, because if you're trying to persuade someone to understand you, then you're still externalizing your power and your value and your sense of self. You need to know who you are and what your truth is, and communicate it in the most assertive and kind and clear way. That's our duty. And then leave it up to the other person to respond. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you are true to yourself and that you're not betraying yourself. Because betraying ourselves comes at a very high cost. Very, very high cost. Listen to Gabor Mate, Teal Swan, all these illnesses that appear, autoimmune diseases, cancer. It's like our body eating itself because we haven't protected our boundaries. We haven't respected our truth. Illnesses don't just appear out of crystal blue, blue sky, and they're not genetically predetermined. We're not victims of our genetics. The environment has such a huge influence on us. Yeah? If we are to believe that we're victims to our genetics, then we are that, victims. It's kind of like sealed, done fate, sealed fate. You can't do anything about it. No. And I'm speaking as someone who rose out of the depths of depression, severe mental illness. So I know it's possible because I'm the living example. What you see right now here. I'm talking a bit forceful today, but I feel this is such an important topic. Have compassion for yourself. Have enough trust in your own feelings and your own emotions that they're not there to bring you turmoil. They're there as messengers. They have something to tell you. Stop listening to everyone else. Start listening to yourself. You deserve it. So I'm proud of where I'm at. It took me quite a process to get here. But it's like the better it gets, the better it gets. The stronger I get, the stronger I get, and it's just getting better. I feel more empowered. What's the ultimate goal of doing this anyway? Of this whole journey is to come back to wholeness, to come back and to reclaim our power, spiritual sovereignty, mental health, physical self, the complete blossoming of our multidimensional self. And yeah, it takes work, but it's worth it. It's worth it. You are worth the effort, the investment, the time, the patience. I'm a visual artist, but you know what the greatest work of art is? This. I am my greatest work of art because everything comes from here. Paintings, everything comes from this. God, this illness of self-loathing is insane. How ubiquitous it is, how pervasive self-loathing is in this world. And you're surprised that we don't have a more compassionate, loving world? Well, look at the state of ourselves. The war that we carry inside between our different aspects, bulldozing each other internally, psychically. Are you surprised that there's wars out there? I don't need to check what's going on out there. I just check what's in here, what's going on here. And if this is in dynamic harmony, not static, because nothing's ever static, then I have faith. Because this inner balance and harmony and strength will be reflected outside. Because as within, so without. And even the heavens depend on our work. Because it's not like we are only dependent on our angels and guides and Mahadev, God, whatever you want to call it, the universe. No, the universe is depending on us to lift ourselves up, to meet halfway, to co-create. I always pray, Mahadev, come down to meet me as I lift myself up to meet you. And let's create something beautiful. And as we ascend into our beings, the entire universe ascends. And I don't know, galaxies, we're all connected. It's all connected in this vast cosmic interplay. So don't look outside for the answers, look inside. What's going on in here? How are you feeling right now? What's the state of your body? I used to be so, tense all the time, chronic back pains, because I was just in a chronic freeze state out of fear. I'm so thankful for the discovery of breath work, shamanic breathing. Wow, it's so powerful. It's quite trippy also. I really recommend it. Yeah, how are you feeling? How is the state of your body? How is your breath? How is your frown? Are you frowning? I have these two arrugas, these two, what do you call them? The wrinkles. Because I used to be like this all the time, I need to widen it. Smile. The world is more beautiful when you smile. I've seen it all the time. I pass people in the street and I smile and they smile back. And it's this complete 180 degree change of energy. And I can see it in the person's face. They light up. It's so beautiful to see. Smiling is an act of grace. It's showing the universe that you're grateful, that you're able to smile despite or because of everything you've gone through. And you see the grace in it. You see the lessons. You see it was not all for naught. You feel your own strength in your smile, because it takes strength to smile and to not drown in a sense of powerlessness. So my message here is slow down. Check with yourself. How are you feeling right now? Right here, right now. Connect with your breath, with your heart, with the voice inside of you, the voices inside of you, and listen to what everyone has to say. I always say, I pass the mic to the pantheon inside me. And I don't even shun the devil or the critic. I say, yes, you guys have something to say, but you're not the one holding the mic all the time like you used to and make me super sick. Pass the mic. But I allow you to be there, even the devil, the destructive forces. Otherwise, we're repressing again. I shine the light and the love of your awareness and make the theater so broad that everyone can sit in there. Have that compassion, that patience with yourself, to sit with yourself and to really connect with how you're feeling. And then make an effort to understand your emotions and your feelings. We're like in the dark ages here when it comes to emotions, guys. We think we're so like technologically advanced. Yeah, but dude, what's going on in here? It has something to say. So listen, accept it, be curious, connect with it, journal about it, discover what's going on inside. And then bring loads and loads and loads of compassion to it, because compassion is love. And if you don't find that love, pray. It doesn't have to be the religious sense, but pray is like a form of meditation. Ask for strength. Our mind is connected to the universal mind, so any thought you send out is being received. The universe, the galaxy, is like a huge neural, it's like a huge brain, we're all like facets of this massive brain. So you will be heard. Reach out, ask for support, whether it's from spiritual realm or in your 3D reality. Yeah. The journey is one of an individual, but we can do it by holding hands with others. So listen to your emotions, accept, bless your emotions. Say, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing me. Thank you for teaching me. And don't push your anger away. It's there to protect you. Your sense of self, which is so valuable. I'll leave you with this. No oracle cards today. Enough said. I'm Magic Mel. I'm a magnet for miracles. Mel's Magic is my channel. Subscribe, guys. I got plenty to say. I got 5 seasons worth of videos already. Check back onto all my videos and hit the like button if you like this. And Owl and I have got your back. I'll see you for the next episode. Infinite love, infinite blessings. Stay strong.